All right, today we're jumping headfirst into the absolutely wild world of modern sports cards. I mean, this is a market that's just moving at 1,000 miles an hour. You've got prices exploding one day and then completely collapsing the next. It really does feel like pure chaos. But, believe it or not, there's a hidden pattern in all that noise. And once you see it, the whole market starts to make a whole lot more sense. In this slide right here, this perfectly captures the central puzzle of the market. On one side, you have the absolute legends. The Michael Jordan card index, which tracks his most important cards, is up over 30%. Rock solid. But on the other side, you've got the new phenom, Victor Wembanyama. His main rookie card has plummeted a mind-boggling 92%. So how on earth can both of these things be happening in the same market at the exact same time? And just to really let the scale of that collapse sink in, look at this. This card went from a peak of over $800, one of the most hyped rookie cards in years, and now it's worth less than $70. Wow. I mean, that's the kind of crazy volatility that would scare just about anyone away. But what if I told you there's a strategy that actually explains both the steady legends and the free-falling rookies? So, how do you make sense of all this madness? Well, the really savvy collectors, they don't see one big chaotic mess. Instead, they see three very distinct tiers. Let's break down the playbook they use to bring some order to the chaos. Here it is. The easiest way to think about it is like a portfolio. First, you've got your core tier. This is for the blue chip legends, your Jordans, your Gretzkys. Their stories are already written, their cards are rare, and the whole goal here is just stability. Then, there's the growth tier. This is all about finding undervalued talent. Think of it as scouting for promising prospects before they get famous. And finally, you have the speculative tier. This is where all the action is. It's about riding the hype wave of players who are in the news right now, like hotshot rookie quarterbacks. So let's start with that last one, the most dramatic tier, the one that's driving all the headlines. This is all about playing short-term momentum. Check this out. Take rookie quarterback Drake May. In just 30 days, his card price shot up 71%. And this timeline shows you exactly why. He has a monster performance in Week 6, gets a fantastic 91.0 grade from the analytics guys at Pro Football Focus. Suddenly, the sports world is buzzing about him being a dark horse MVP candidate. And boom, the price just takes off. His on-field performance is directly fueling a speculative frenzy. And get this, sometimes you don't even need the on-field performance, just the promise of it. Cooper Flagg, the #1 pick in the NBA draft, he has a card that's projected to sell for over $500,000 before he's even played a single official game. The value here is being built almost entirely on social media hype. It's all over Reddit and Instagram. That is a pure, unadulterated momentum play. Okay, so if the speculative tier is all about riding the hype, the real question is, how do you find these guys before the hype? Well, that brings us to the growth tier, which is all about a pattern most people miss because, frankly, they're looking at the wrong stats. So, let me let you in on a little secret weapon that data-savvy collectors love. Exit velocity. In baseball, it's just the speed of the ball literally as it comes off the bat. It doesn't care if that hit was a home run or a routine out. It's just a pure, raw measure of a player's power potential. It shows you what a player is capable of, even when the traditional stats might be hiding it. And here is where it all clicks. Most people, right, they'll look at a minor league player and see a pretty mediocre batting average and just move on. But the smart money, they're looking deeper. They see a player like Zach Cole, who might not have flashy stats on the surface, but he has an elite exit velocity of almost 110 miles per hour. That single stat screams that he has major league power. It tells you he's an undervalued gem, way before the rest of the market catches on. Okay, so we've got a strategy, a playbook to navigate the chaos. But now we really need to zoom out and have a little reality check. Because when you look at the entire market, there are some pretty serious warning signs flashing. This slide shows a really interesting contradiction. Look, total sales volume is up 12% year over year. That means more cards are being bought and sold. But at the exact same time, the average price of a football card is actually down 6%. It kind of suggests that while more people are in the game, some of that crazy speculative froth might be starting to cool off. And make no mistake, this market is enormous. We are talking about record-breaking months with over $400 million in online sales. That is a massive amount of money flowing through this hobby. But as we all know, big numbers can sometimes hide some pretty big risks. And here is the official warning. You've got market observers who are looking at these growth rates, 150, even 350% for some modern cards, and they're saying, whoa, hold on, this is flat out unsustainable. It's giving them serious echoes of that bubble we saw back in 2020 and 2021. So, yeah, while this is all fun and exciting, you gotta be aware of the risks. So, what should you really take away from all this? Well, here are the key risks in a nutshell. First, that extreme rookie volatility we saw with Wembanyama. Second, there's a predictable seasonal thing called the January dip, where prices historically drop after the holidays. Third, you have to remember that hype cycles have a peak, and it's often right before a player even makes their debut. And finally, there's that bigger picture concern about whether the growth in the modern card market is really sustainable. So what's the verdict? Is this a booming hobby, or is it a bubble that's just waiting to burst? The truth is, it might actually be both. The real secret isn't trying to predict what the entire market will do. It's about knowing which of those three games you're playing: the stable, long-term core game, the data-driven growth game, or the high-risk, high-reward speculative game. In a market like this, knowing your strategy is absolutely everything.
All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about the absolutely wild world of sports card investing. And right now, in October 2025, it is a market that seems to make no sense at all. But believe it or not, if you have the right data, there's a really clear path through all that noise.
So check this out. The market is basically split in two. You've got these blue chip legends, guys like Michael Jordan, whose cards are just steadily climbing in value. And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, last year's can't-miss rookie, Victor Wembanyama, his most popular rookie card has absolutely cratered. I mean, down 92%. So the big question is, how can both of these things be happening at the very same time?
And believe me, the stakes are incredibly high. This number right here, $1.6 million, that's for a single Michael Jordan card in perfect condition. So when you've got that kind of money flying around at the top, but a total free fall for new stuff, it really makes you wonder, how on earth do you navigate this market without getting completely burned?
Well, the answer isn't about getting lucky or just chasing the hottest player of the week. The strategy we're breaking down here is all about a professional, data-driven framework. It's a disciplined structure that brings some serious order to all this chaos. It's really what separates true investing from just gambling.
And this is the whole strategy in a nutshell. You break down your entire collection into three distinct parts, or tiers. You've got your core, your growth, and your speculative tiers. Each one has a totally different job, a different level of risk, and honestly, requires a totally different mindset. This is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
Okay, so first up, you have the core tier. Think of this as the bedrock of your entire portfolio. It is built for stability. We're talking about the absolute legends of the game. Guys whose careers are already over, their stories are written, their greatness isn't up for debate, and this is key, the number of their important cards out there is fixed. These are the assets that are meant to hold their value no matter what the rest of the market is doing.
Next up is the growth tier, and this is where the real homework comes in. Here, we are hunting for players who are seriously undervalued. Guys who have incredible underlying stats, like in baseball, you might find a guy with 105-mile-per-hour exit velocity, which is just a fancy way of saying he hits the ball incredibly hard, but the market just hasn't caught on yet. These are your hidden gems, but they're backed by real data.
And that brings us to the third tier, the speculative tier. This is the high-risk, high-reward part of your portfolio, for sure. Here, we're right in the wave of in-season hype. Think about that rookie quarterback who just had an amazing game on national TV, or an NBA lottery pick who's just shattering expectations. It's super fast-paced, and you have to be ready to sell pretty much at a moment's notice to lock in those gains. So what does this actually look like with real players in today's market? Well, here's a perfect snapshot. You've got Michael Jordan as that stable core asset. Then in the growth tier, you've got a baseball prospect like Nd Ozakar. His power numbers are elite, which signals huge potential, but his cards are only like $12. And then, in that speculative tier, you have Drake May, whose card prices are just soaring because he's playing out of his mind right now.
But here's the crucial part. It's about the why behind that momentum. A card like Drake May's is a strong buy, not just because of some buzz online, it's because of hard data. When Pro Football Focus, one of the top analytics companies, grades him as the third best quarterback in the entire league, well, that's a real, tangible metric that says the hype is actually justified.
Now, what's really cool is that this framework, this way of thinking, doesn't just work for the big American sports like football and basketball. It can actually help you find massive value in global markets that a lot of traditional collectors are just now starting to pay attention to. And hey, if you thought the stakes in the US sports market were high, just get a load of this. $1.5 million. That's the price a single Lionel Messi rookie card just sold for. It's a huge signal that the entire collectibles world is shifting, and it points to a massive opportunity leading up to the 2026 World Cup.
And this isn't just any old card. This is the Lionel Messi rookie card. Its value shot up 346%. That is proof positive that these global sports have incredible crossover appeal. And with the World Cup coming to North America in 2026, the data is basically screaming that there's a huge opportunity to diversify into soccer right now.
On top of knowing what to buy, the data also tells us when to buy. And timing is everything. October is always a crazy month, with baseball playoffs and the start of the NBA season. That flows right into the holiday surge in November and December, where sales can jump 30 to 40%. But then, almost like clockwork, the market takes a dip in January. And that dip, that's a potential buying window.
So, when you put this all together, what you really get is control. You get to consciously decide how much risk you want to take on. You can build that stable foundation in your core tier, you can hunt for that calculated upside in the growth tier, and you can take some calculated shots with that high-reward speculative tier. It becomes a deliberate strategy, not just a roll of the dice.
Ultimately, this all boils down to one really important question. The biggest takeaway here isn't one specific card you should run out and buy, it's about a mindset. When you ground your decisions in actual data, player stats, market trends, all of it, you move away from pure chance and into the world of informed speculation. And that line between investing and gambling, that's for you to draw.